Hello class. Today we're talking about working on our childhood memory sculpture project. The video will show you kind of how I built one that's from my childhood memory. And I'm looking forward to see what you guys come up with yourselves. You've got a lot of different directions to go with this. You can make it like a self-portrait kind of idea of child memory sculpture, like you as a child. I've had a few of those. I'll include a couple of those images, probably right over here, of some past work. And this is a student did one right here. A couple things to really focus on this is we're not using an armature for this, we're building everything hollow. If you need to use armature, I'm fine with that. Just remember, whatever you put inside of it, you gotta be able to yank it out. The video I'm gonna show you, I show you how to build without it. And some people build without them as well, so it's up to you guys. I'll give you guys that option. If you wanna use newspaper as an armature, just make sure you pull out the newspaper and all that stuff as well. So it's one thing to let you guys know on this one. It should be, if you're doing something, it's something that's flat. If you're gonna do the cartoon idea or something from a book, you can use that images as references, but you're making something that's flat into sculptural. So you gotta, when you're making, I think about, his eyes might be drawn on there, but how can I make him stand out? How can I make him look like applique? Or the nose needs to come out. What kind of textures do they have? You know, do I have little buttons for the clothing? Stuff like that you really gotta think about when creating your piece. Not just trying to make a very rudimentary 2D drawing that kind of looks three-dimensional. You're trying to make it look more like a sculpture. And if you want to, as I showed you in my little pictures that are probably scrolling by as I'm talking to you, some kids can use ideas that are just they're self-portraits almost, kind of cartoony of themselves, which is totally out of their head. They use reference ideas to come up with. You're more than welcome to do that as well. I leave it up to you. As long as it's something from your childhood. If you remember in my Ceramics 1 class, we made something called a childhood memory box, where it was a box and you decorate it with ideas from your childhood. This time we're taking one idea and making a sculpture out of it, and that's what we're doing. Do not forget, make sure there's a hole poked in it. Try to make as many parts hollow as possible. If you have small skinny things like a tail, of course that does not need to be hollow. Some ears don't need to be hollow as well. But when you're making arms or legs, something to think about. The feet can be solid, the hands can be solid, stuff like that. Remember, a hole poked in it, as I've stated before. Does it need a hole? Nah, some people say it doesn't. You probably can watch tons of stuff out there that says otherwise. But for me in my life and how my firing schedule works in my class, have one in there to have more success and nothing happening to it. So please, please, please do that. Make sure there's a hole poked in it. And if you attach anything to it, like a head to a body, there's a hole that connects the body to the head. So everything stays in one piece, please. So, what childhood memory do you have? What can you sculpt? What are you gonna make it into? Cannot wait to see it. Let's get started.
We start with the basic shape. I start with the cylinder form I built around it, and I'm extruding out the belly of the piece. I have it flipped over on the upside down. I'm kind of working the shape, the belly of the poo I'm making. I kind of paddle in and get the basic shape. This is a hollow form, no newspaper in there. This is all being built this way. Kind of gives an idea of what I'm planning on here. So I'm just making like a hollow belly form, get the basic rough shape of my poo. At this point here, my form is a little rough and it's not losing shape, so I'm putting the bottom onto it. So I'm gonna score and slip it, have a slab on there, everything's a 1/4 inch thickness, paddling and shaping the bottom of my poo, getting the basic bottom of the shape. This also allows me to push the shape out more, get a more of a voluptuous body. You know, poo's got a big belly from eating all that honey. So that's what I'm trying to emulate there and get the basic shape of creating my way of the poo here. Just kind of working on using the various sticks, spoons, tools to kind of protrude out that form, really stretch the body out. So I'm trying to do here. Look at the picture, look at my reference material, get the idea of what I want. One thing I noticed looking at my piece, it's a little too long, so I'm taking my knife, just cutting it off, working the shape a little bit more, defining where I want the belly to be, kind of giving a rough idea what the shirt is going to be as well, kind of roughly get some ideas on there. Now I'm going to build the face using a pinch bowl, kind of shaping out a basic pin shape. Then I'm going to go back in and shape it some more to get the rough shape of the face, like where its nose is, where its eyeballs are going to be, just basic idea of that. That's a good, easy way to kind of sculpt a face. Use a pinch bowl. It's the clay thickness. If you go too thin, always add more clay to it, but it allows you to shape what you're creating and making. And here I'm just kind of keep working on the shape. I'll come back in, blend and smooth it. I'll come in with a rubber scraper tool, wooden tools. I'm going to kind of shape the face more what I want it to look like. and get that basic rough idea of what I want the face to look like. And just kind of come in there and begin to define it. The reason why I'm only using one pinch pull allows me to get my other hand in there to really focus on the shape of what I'm making and creating. With the basic head shaped, I'm not going to go in there and begin to shape the body a little bit more. Kind of get ready to put that head on there. Kind of narrow in the neck, get it more defined, put the head up there to kind of see what it looks like, cut little notches into it, kind of close it off, begin to look at the shape of the body. How's it going to be? So it kind of fits the head shape. Looking at my pictures as reference, kind of closing everything in, kind of building the shape. I'm cutting things like little triangles, so it has a shape using a paddle, getting a rough idea of how I want Pooh to be, what it's going to look like, and everything else. Once I have that done, I now add the back part of the head, score and slip it together, and get it kind of ready to put onto the body. But first, got to blend that head together, use a paddle for some shaping, kind of blend everything, make it one complete piece, get it to look like the shape of the head of the Pooh. That's why I have side angles of it, so I can kind of mimic what it looks like. And that's what I'm working on here. Once I have the basic shape, I cut a hole in the bottom. This allows me to get my finger in there, begin to smooth, blend around, kind of define the face more, get the basic shape I want of the head before I attach it to the body. And this really kind of makes it work this way. Kind of keep checking, looking, make sure it all works out fine. Here I'm taking a pinch pull, adding on the shoulders, kind of getting them on there, scoring, setting them on. Then I'm going to go back in, cut a little hole underneath them. So I attach my arms. It allows the hollow arms to have a place to attach to. And this gives me the basic shape of what I want to do. As you can see here, I'm cutting holes out. So I can kind of blend those hollow spots on there, kind of make sure they fit and work. So everything kind of goes into it, has a nice even way for the air to compress out of it, as you can see here, and put them on. And I want to make sure I do this before I attach the head, because if I do that, it's hard to get my hand in there to make sure things blended on correctly. The next part here is I'm working on the legs. I take slabs of clay wrapped around either a stick, a paintbrush, whatever, to kind of build the basic form. I leave them flare out a little bit so I can kind of have them blended on there to build like the part of the leg of Pooh. And it kind of explodes out, presses out a bit so it defines what it's going to look like. I leave it kind of open. I can go back in, add clay to it, define it, but the legs are hollow as I build them all the way through. As you can see there, I use, like I said, a paintbrush, something to build that slab around it. So I can kind of shape it, blend it, smooth it on there. So it's good to go. And that gives that haunch part of Pooh's leg. Here I'm working on Pooh's arms. As you can see, I have it wrapped around just a paintbrush, and I can cut it, shape it to the shape I want to kind of begin to add it on. One part I've also put in here is I've added a coil around the t-shirt, kind of make the shirt stand out. So all I did was add a coil around it, blend it up, and that gives the look of the shirt. And I put the piece in sections. I'm going to cut them, score and slip them together, and then blend everything together and make sure it makes the arms. I'm not worried about hands and feet right now, just getting basic placement of the arms and the legs, so I kind of know they work right, and also going to wrap around a little honey jar I built. So I just keep adding clay, getting the basic shape, and I'm good to go. Here I've attached the arms. I've used barbecue skewers to help me hold them in place while I blend them. I'm not too worried about the holes, because I always cover them up after the fact. This allows me to hold them in position. So I add some clay around them, get the basic shape of what I'm trying to create and make. And this little barbecue skewers or chopsticks kind of help support it, and I can blend them all in. That whole entire arm is hollow all the way through to the gap in the space. Again, I've not attached the head yet, so it allows me to get in there and blend it. The head I can come on, pat on after the fact. Again, don't forget, add a coil for the t-shirt, not adding on a more slab. So add a coil to help define that bottom. And you can see I've got a nice little shape there for the legs as well. The hands and the feet will probably end up being solid clay. Here I'm adding on the feet. They're solid clay. I'll come back in, maybe hollow them out a little bit, push in like a stick or something inside the hole so it has some air to attach in there. Then I'm going to score and slip, blend them on there. They're not very big, so they can be solid clay. It's better than making the whole leg solid, but the feet can be. And I'm just going to score and slip, blend them on there. Remember to pick up your piece, blend underneath where you don't see it, and make sure you have a nice, good supporting seam. And again, don't forget, like I said before, and I've stated again, I've added a coil for the t-shirt. That's all I did, and it makes it stand out like a shirt. Again, don't forget, blend the bottom. Make sure all your sculpture is well put together. Happy with how the body's shaping, I'm going to attach the head. Score and slip it on there, kind of press it down in there, blend it on there. I'll fill it in with some clay and kind of make sure it's like permanently attached. It does not easily fall off. To make the top of the shirt stand out like a collar, I'm just adding a coil around it. Kind of take it on there. I'm only going to blend it one way. I'm going to score and slip it on, then blend it. It'll look like it's a collar of the shirt, and it looks like Pooh has a shirt on there, not just one big piece. This gives the illusion of more depth to the piece, as we can see. Here I'm going to add some rough details to the face. I've already got the nose on there. Now I'm putting in the little eyeballs. I'll add the ears, everything else, kind of give the definition. I'm not going to draw them on there. I'm going to add them on. Remember, we got to think 3 dimensions, and that's part of the goal here. Give Pooh 3 dimensions, not flat. And make little pinch bowls or little pieces of clay, carve in the inside, add them to the ears, blend them, and smooth them on there. But make everything have depth to it, not flat. Don't draw things on there. Kind of carve it in. Give it that depth. That's what makes it different from something 2D to 3D. Here I'm going to add coils around the top of the arm where the shirt is. Again, put them on there, score and slip, blend up, and that gives it the nice definition of the shirt and the arms underneath it. Gives that whole entire illusion. I didn't wrap any slabs on there, just give the illusion that it's actually there. Adding small little coils in certain areas helps make the piece stand out a little bit more in detail. Before I add the hands on, I'm going to score and slip a little pot I made, kind of blend it onto the body, and then I'll build the arms around the piece, and then I just kind of go back in, smooth, define a little bit of the features, use that little rubber shaper a little bit to kind of define everything. Now I begin to work on the hands. I got everything attached on there. Again, I will kind of build a little hollow spot around it, then kind of collapse it down in to build the basic shape of the hand, add the thumbs on there. His hands aren't super detailed, so that's what good thing about cartoon characters are, but they still have depth. So I'm building a basic paw shape, going to be holding on to the honey jar, then I'll add the thumb on after the fact for both sides of the hand. One's going to be on the side, one's going to be directly on the top. Again, score and slip and blend them on there and build a basic shape of what you're trying to build your piece. And that's kind of how you get the hands to come out. It's a little bit of piece at a time. When I get done shaping everything, get the basic idea, I'll come back, work on details, and clean up. As I stated earlier, I'm now working on the other side of the hand. This is going to be holding the little honey jar. And same process I did on the other side. Taking your time, make sure the features match, everything's well blended, and put onto the piece. It would not be Winnie the Pooh if I didn't have his iconic honey on the jar, spilled a special way like he does. And I kind of clean it up, work on making it stand out, so when I glaze it, it will show up. Now I'm adding little drips onto the honey jar, so it looks like there's honey inside the jar, that I will later add with a little bit of color and decoration. At this stage, it's a lot of cleaning up, defining lines, using ribbon tools, using the little wooden shapers, the rubber shapers, wooden carving tools, whatever, kind of define my poo, making things stand out, adding the details. Got the basic form on there, and now I'm adding the details, make sure everything stands out and looks amazing. This is where you can really make or break your piece. This is where you're going to take some time, really defining your shape, shaving away extra clay if you need to, really just making your sculpture look like your sculpture. And this just takes a little bit of work and a little bit of time to really finish it off. A lot of kids struggle with this because they don't put those extra time in there. Please take the time to do that. Make your piece stand out and look amazing. Don't forget to blend the bottom. Some final notes of your piece. Make sure it's all well blended. You do have a hole poked in it like we talked about. Let the air skips into be huge holes. We can see here just a needle size hole. Take a slick damp towel. This helps smooth any of your seams, kind of blend some things together, cleans up the piece a little bit. Highly recommend it. Make sure it's done. And we have a piece completed. Let's see what you can do.